Press conference, we have CEO Brad Sims. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll get started in the room with Veronica.
Home opener, it's always special. But how special is it to celebrate your 10th anniversary?
Extremely special. I mean, it's a big milestone for the club, and I think a time for us to reflect and for our fans to reflect about, I think, some considerable accomplishments that we've made over the first 10 years, and it's sometimes you forget like how new the club is. I mean, 10 years is not very long in the grand scheme of things of football clubs around the world, and so we feel it's a great time to reflect. We feel great about what have we accomplished on and off the pitch, on the pitch. Having a trophy cabinet outside here with a few trophies in it, and on the off the pitch, especially the first thing I think about is the community impact we've had in the New York community through our foundation, City in the Community, CITC, whether that's our mini pitch initiative. We've built to this point almost 60 pitches throughout the 5 boroughs. Have a commitment to build 26 more in conjunction with the 26 World Cup over the next few years. The first of those 26, maybe I'm not even supposed to share this, but it's already out of my mouth. But first one's coming up late April, early May. We'll have the first of these 26. We'll be dedicating, waiting on a final date on that. But so we're excited to be working with the local New York, New Jersey World Cup organizing committee as well, as they are also going to be doing a 26 pitch initiative. We're working together. We're matching. We're going to work to match theirs and work in conjunction with them. So they've been great partners, and just the excitement that the next 10 years. So that's the other thing about the 10-year anniversary. You think about the past 10 years, you start thinking about the next 10 years and what there is, and with the World Cup and the just the meteoric rise of this sport in this country, in the New York market, and then of course in 2027 opening the new stadium at Willets Point, Queens, at Etihad Park. So much to be proud of. It was we reflect and look back, and then also there's this excitement about what does the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years look like as well. And so it's just couldn't be more excited about this weekend and what the future holds.
Scott? Hey, Mr. Sims, Scott Schertzen, Street
Yes.
Punk Soccer. On the front of the new stadium and everything like that, obviously the excitement there. The fans want to know if there's any ability that they can have to maybe start seeing the progress firsthand. Will tours be allowed? Will any of that be cleared? Is that something that's doable?
100% doable. At this point in time, it's too early. It's just very, very active construction site, and quite frankly, not a lot to see. I'll be honest. It's though amazing work's been done. I mean, I was sharing earlier, we're only, I guess, like 13, 14 weeks in, and we're already 3 to 5 weeks ahead of schedule. We've been benefit of good weather so far. The land conditions have been better. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get into. We had 200 plus pilings that we had to get into in the ground. They're all in place, all well ahead of schedule, and so we're doing electrical and plumbing work now, getting the foundation going. So we're ahead of schedule. It's good. Hopefully that will continue. I'm knocking on wood here. But I think it's not likely until I would say probably late 25, maybe in 26, where we'll likely start bringing people on site. But we 100% will have opportunities for fans to be on site before then, and then also have opportunities for our fans to come to our Etihad Park Experience Center, which is in Midtown Manhattan as well. So that's another great opportunity to really get a immersive feel for what kind of the stadium experience is going to be all about.
One more real quick, if you
Sure.
don't mind. Is there any chance that Blitzkrieg Bach from the Ramones can be put back as the goal song?
Well, that's under consideration. That's not the first time I've heard that request, and so we are taking all kinds of fan requests as far as that goes. But duly noted.
We're going to go to the Zoom. Anthony?
Hey, Brad. Anthony Merced with AJM Sports. It's been now 10 years. This team's identity has changed on the field quite a bit, from being more of a veteran team to being a team that's found success with younger players. Can you speak a bit about how that change came about, and where do you see this team evolving into as it goes into its new stadium?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Yeah, it's good, really good question. I get asked that a lot. Are we going to kind of change back, so to speak, to kind of like where we were before? I think where the change came about, I think, is from learning. I mean, learning what works and what doesn't work. I would say ambition to win trophies, and we did a lot of research and kind of understanding what the winning teams in MLS and teams that were winning trophies, what they look like, what the team compositions look like, and a lot of credit to Dave Lee when he came in. I started in the beginning of the 2019 season. Dave, we promoted to sporting director at the beginning of the 2020 season, and he had done this research. He had looked at it and he said, hey, like the way to win is to focus on having better depth and being more spread across your roster and not being so top heavy, and having a locker room where it was very cohesive, and we had a great kind of a cultural really focus on the cultural piece, and you look at the teams that have won over time, and they really haven't been the teams that have the quote unquote aging superstars. And by the way, on top of that, I also from my standpoint, it was music to my ears, because I'm trying to find a way for us to run a business, run a club in an economically feasible and sustainable manner. And quite frankly, the first 4 years of our club, we had the least amount of success on the pitch in terms of a points per season basis, and and just getting far in the playoffs or winning trophies or anything like that. We're actually it was our worst 4-year stretch of any 4 years that we've had, and it was by far our most expensive in terms of roster composition, and our least, or maybe our most unprofitable is maybe a better way to put it. So it was a double or triple whammy where the economics aren't good, and the results weren't particularly good, quite frankly, on the field. And then all of a sudden, we kind of instituted a new model, and we won more, and we had more success in the playoffs, and it was in a more economically sustainable manner, where the players that you are investing in not only can give you top tier production like a Tati Castellanos, but then you can, we also generated a significant return on investment with Tati specifically, and more recently with Santi Rodriguez. So that kind of model where you can get high caliber production from players, that you can win games and be consistent winners near the top of the table, put yourself in position to be able to compete for trophies come playoff time, do better financially, especially given the limitations that we have as being a tenant, and really only being a tenant for 17 days of year where we can generate revenue, versus in your own stadium where you have 365 days a year where you can generate revenue. You add all those things together, and it's been a no-brainer for the direction of team for us. I mean, it's been again, we're proud that we're one of only 2 teams in all of MLS that have made it to the conference semifinals or better in 7 of the last 9 years. The only team in the Eastern Conference has done that, and Seattle is the only other team in MLS who's done that. So having a consistent winner, doing it more in a more economically sustainable way, and putting ourselves in position to win trophies, and actually winning trophies, which we didn't do our first 4 years. To me, it's made a ton of sense. Will we change? Like Dave said it before. Like we're not set on one specific strategy. It's not a never say never. Rules change in this league. Sometimes on an annual basis. I expect the league to be even more aggressive than ever before in the next few years in terms of player investment, and we just know there's going to be this rocket fuel added to the sport and the league with the 2026 World Cup. So you don't know what it's going to look like in the future. We'll never rule anything out, but we feel that the path that we've been on the last 6-7 years has been a really good path, and right now that's how we're building the team. In the current plans, and we reserve the right to change that in the future.
We're gonna go with Chris.
Hey Brad, Chris Campbell from the outfield.
Hey, Chris.
10th anniversary coming up, and there's already been a lot of club legends within those 10 years. One of those being the first captain, David Villa. Since the sexual assault harassment allegations in 2020, the club has had a notable absence of social media posts involving Villa and highlights and in other posts. Fans often comment on those posts, where you would expect someone of his stature from a sporting perspective to have been included. Just very recently, in the last 2 weeks, the club has begun sharing more highlights and images and social media posts on certain platforms. Can you talk to first the decision to not include David Villa in social media posts for so long and the reasoning behind that? And then second, the decision to change from that approach to get closer to the 10th anniversary? Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, well, the 10th anniversary, going back to the first question, is a time to reflect on the history of the club and everything over the first 10 years, and really, from a sporting standpoint, as you mentioned, that's the focus. And so if you think on our day-to-day, if you go 3 months out from now or 6 months or 9 months out from now, on day-to-day, we don't really focus a lot on the past. You may have an on this day post if something amazing happened on that day, from the club's history. But other than that, our coverage is what's happening now, really, and what stories are we telling now. And so there isn't, maybe there hadn't been over the last, number of years or number of months or whatever, time frame. I'm not following it that granularly, posts of David, but also probably not that many posts of Jack Harrison or Frank Lampard or whoever else. If you want to do a quick check, and if anyone would do it, it would be you, Chris. But in terms of a count of social media posts of all of our alumni over the last 9 to 12 months, but I can't imagine it's very many posts of those players. Very different as we are reflecting on the 10-year anniversary of the club, and that's what we've been doing over the last few weeks and months, and engaging our fans and asking them what they want to see more of, who they want to hear from, who had the best goals of all time, who had the most memorable moments, who had all these things. And so a lot of these are fan driven that we've had. We had who create your best five-a-side team, and we're going to aggregate those results if we haven't already, and get out there. And whoever the fans are gonna want to see, and that's who we're gonna show. I think it's impossible to tell the story of the first 10 years of this club, and without including the all-time goal scorer in club history, a guy who won the league MVP, a guy who made 100-plus appearances, a guy who was a team captain, et cetera. And so, when it has made sense, and it would be almost impossible not to, we have them in there. And by the way, I think our fans are speaking on, and I'm sure you've seen, Chris, the comments have been overwhelmingly positive from a fan standpoint. We know fans, have strong feelings towards David. Will that change our approach in the future? I don't know. We haven't discussed that. I think that what we discussed is this is the 10th anniversary. We're celebrating the first 10 years of the club. We want to give the fans what they want to see and hear and consume, and the response has been positive.
We'll go with Oliver.
Hi, thank you. This is Oliver Strand with Hudson River Blue. Talking about the ambitions of the club, in the past you mentioned an interest or plans in redoing the academy, updating and expanding that. Right now, the academy just has one full-sized field, and it's pretty undersized by the standards of MLS right now. Red Bulls are building a new academy. There's the new project over in Seattle. Is this something that you're actively looking at, or is this down the road?
Yes, actively looking at, including meeting on it yesterday and pretty regularly. So we're looking at a number of different sites. We do have we do believe we would have an opportunity here in Orangeburg to expand. We own more land adjacent to our CFA currently, and there's even more land that we believe that we could potentially have access to. So the question is whether we want to do it here or if it makes sense to do it elsewhere. But we're looking at a number of different opportunities, a number of different options, and it's definitely a priority. I mean, I will say our academy for the infrastructure situation, much like our first team, much like our entire club, we've been very scrappy. We've outpunched our weight big time. I mean, the amount of talent that we've developed in 10 years. I mean, we had our 9th homegrown debut with Johnny Shore in Miami to start the year. To produce 9 MLS players in 10 years of an academy, to win trophies, many trophies at the academy level, to produce a player, Christian McFarland, who played at every level of our academy, played at our second team, played at our first team, and then it gets signed by Manchester City. There's been so many wins, and we have a ton of young players that have signed to first team contracts and or second team contracts that likely will become first team contracts. We have our pipeline is so strong, and to do all that with the kind of the headwinds and challenges from an infrastructure standpoint for our academy has been unbelievable work, and tons of credit to everybody in our academy, all of our coaches, and Morton is our academy director, Nosa is our head of coaching, and we've had so many top coaches that in that group that have developed players, and it's been an amazing story. And just think about what it would look like if we had the best in class facility for them as well, and that's what we're hoping to do, and it definitely is high on my radar for sure.
Great. Thank you, everybody.